And thanks for being with us on Wisconsin Tonight. Last week on our show, we had a story about a fundraising concert for the Old Glory Honor Flight.
Absolutely. And despite raising enough money to send at least 10 vets to Washington, the highlight of the night really didn't have anything to do with a day trip to the nation's capital, but it did have everything to do with a World War II vet taking a unique trip back in time. A self-described small-town farm boy from Columbus, Wisconsin in 1944. Perfect fodder for the Army draft. His specialty was artillery, and not long after General Douglas MacArthur made his famous return to the Philippines, Bob McFarland and his unit joined them in an area that had been a horrific place for U.S. prisoners of war after the Japanese invaded.
If a guy just went to sit down or something, they just take a bayonet and kill him.
Bob's concern? Plans for the upcoming invasion of Japan.
We were scheduled to go in on the third wave.
But when there's a lull in the action, boredom sets in. And one night while on guard duty, Bob came up with an idea to pass the time.
So I thought, well, I'll try and write a poem. Of all things.
One small problem. He couldn't put down his weapon to write.
And at 4 o'clock in the morning when I got back, I sat down with a piece of paper and I wrote down everything that I could think of.
Bob wrote it with Marge, his hometown high school sweetheart, in mind, to give her an idea of his life in a war zone.
I sent the poem to her, and I didn't know if she had it or not.
Bob did make it home and married shortly after. As for the poem,
we made 9 moves during my working days, and every now and then we'd find the poem.
Fast forward to November of 2014, when a friend of his, Mike Strensky of Bentgrass, debuted the collaboration. Bob's words from almost 70 years ago, Mike's music from today.
He did not care, now living meant so much.
It was special to hear him sing it at that time.
Mike had done a special recording for Bob and Marge prior to this, but a somber note.
A week before that, my wife passed away. She did, but she's heard it.
Bob says some days he listens to recording of it 3 or 4 times to remember days long gone by. And we'll admit, he and Mike, after all these years, made a pretty good team.
Wouldn't have made the music without me, and I couldn't have made it without him.
I think you've got a crush on that guy.
I love him. He is,
I know you do.
love older people.
What a
and
great
he is
looking
so
couple,
sweet.
he and his wife.
They were so good looking together. That is such a good story.
Thanks, just a genuinely